You wake up at 7:03, a minute before the alarm, the way you sometimes beat it without knowing how. The ceiling is the same ceiling, and you do not feel reborn. You feel a little thick, a little slow, and you lie there while your legs decide whether they are going to cooperate. That fog burns off in a few minutes, but notice it, because it is the first honest thing about this morning. A full night does not hand you a jolt of magic the second your eyes open. Now sit with how strange that is. You just spent 8 hours doing something your body treats as completely non-negotiable. Not a luxury. Something it will fight you for. Something it will take by force if you starve it long enough. A third of your whole day. Gone. Every single day of your life. And you come up out of it feeling roughly like yourself. So where did all of it go? 8 hours of something that important should leave a mark. Here is the idea I want you to hang on to. If sleep really does everything we are told it does, then this plain, unremarkable morning should be covered in evidence. It should be a scene you could walk through and read. And the strange part, the part worth your time, is that almost none of that evidence is anything you can feel. So we are not going to start where these things usually start, with you lying down at night. We are going to start right here, in the fog of 7:03, and work backward. Look around the room, because your body left 3 things sitting out in plain view. The first one is in your head. Something you picked up yesterday is still with you this morning. Maybe a name you heard once at a cookout. Maybe the fix your coworker showed you on the spreadsheet. The little trick with the 2 clicks. Maybe you spent 20 minutes fighting to back a trailer into a narrow spot. And somewhere in there, your hands finally figured it out. Whatever it was, it did not wash away overnight. Some of it is actually sharper this morning than it was when you learned it. The second one is in your chest. Something got under your skin yesterday. A comment. An email. A fight you did not finish. Last night it had teeth. This morning the facts are all still true. Every one of them. But the thing does not bite the way it did. It cooled off while you slept. And you did not lift a finger to make that happen. The third one is the biggest. And it is the one people walk right past. It is your whole body. Think about what you actually put it through yesterday. Maybe you were on concrete for 9 hours. Maybe you mowed the lawn in August heat and then hauled 2 bags of mulch around the side of the house. Maybe you just sat in a car and then sat at a desk and then sat some more, which does its own quiet damage. Your muscles took small tears. Your blood pressure ran high all day, the way it does when you are upright and awake and dealing with people. Your immune system met whatever was riding around on the shopping cart handle. By 9 at night you were done. Cooked. And this morning you are ready to go again. Stiff. Maybe. A knee that has opinions on the stairs. But not wrecked. And not scraping the bottom of the tank. Ready to stand up and spend another 16 hours out in the world. And then do it again tomorrow. 3 clues. None of them loud. Every one of them pointing back at the same 8 hours you slept straight through and never saw. One thing before we chase the first one down, because this topic is swimming in nonsense. 8 hours is not a magic number handed down on a stone tablet. It is a good, clean, full night. A comfortable place to stand while we look around. Most grown adults do best with at least 7 hours on a regular basis. And the real number for you drifts with your age, with the body you were born into, and with how solid the sleep actually is once you are under. So every time I say 8, hear a full night. Not an order. The number is a doorway. It is not the point. The point is those 3 clues. Start with the one in your head. The memory that had no business surviving the night as well as it did. Go back to yesterday for a second. Say it was a name. You are standing at your kid's game. Another parent sticks out a hand. Tells you he is Dave. Emma's dad. And you shake it and say it back. Dave. Emma's dad. A tiny thing. By bedtime it was barely hanging on. If somebody had shaken you awake at 2 in the morning and asked, you might have swung and missed. This morning you have it. Dave. Emma's dad. Sitting right there. A little more solid than it had any right to be. Most of us picture memory like a hard drive. Something happens. The brain saves the file. The file sits in a folder until you go looking for it. That picture is wrong. And the way it is wrong is the whole story of your night. Your brain does not tuck yesterday into a drawer and shut it. It goes back through yesterday, while you were lying there with the lights off, dead to the world. It pulled the day back up and ran the important pieces again. Not as dreams you would remember. Lower than that. Down in the deep. Heavy stretches of sleep that flood the early part of the night. Your brain plays the day's patterns back to itself. Quietly. Over and over. And every pass presses them a little harder into something that will last. The name you wrote in pencil at the ball field. Your brain spent part of the night going back over in ink. And here is the part that gets me every time. It did not keep all of it. It could not. And it was never supposed to. Think about how much actually landed on you yesterday. Every face in the grocery store. Every billboard on the drive. The song on the radio you did not even like. You cannot haul all of that into today. And you would lose your mind if you did. So the night sorts the pile. It keeps what looks like it matters. The new name. The skill you fought for. The thing that carried some weight. And it lets the rest drain off. You woke up this morning having quietly dumped almost everything forgettable about yesterday. And you will never miss a single piece of it. That is not your memory breaking down. That is your memory doing exactly the job it was built to do. Different parts of the night seem to favor different kinds of work. 2. The deep sleep loaded into the front end does a lot for plain facts and events. The name. The address. The 2 clicks on the spreadsheet. The dreaming sleep that piles up later leans more toward skills and toward tying new things into what you already knew. The riff you kept flubbing on the guitar. The new route through the plant. The golf swing your buddy tried to fix on Saturday. People sit down the next day, and their hands are just better at it than they were when they quit. And nobody touched a thing in between. Now, those labels are a lot cleaner than the biology is. The stages overlap. They handwork back and forth. And the whole thing runs a little differently from one person to the next. Nobody has this mapped down to the minute. And anyone who tells you otherwise is selling something. But which direction the night runs is not in any doubt. You went to bed holding a rough, smeared first draft of your day. You woke up holding an edited one. It is also why sleep on it turns out to be real advice and not just something your grandmother said. A problem that looked like a brick wall at midnight sometimes has a door in it by breakfast. Not because you lay there grinding on it. Because while you were out, your brain set that problem down next to 3 other things you already understood. And by morning the connection is sitting there waiting for you to notice it. So that is the first clue, traced back to where it came from. The name held on because the night spent hours making sure it would. But something is hiding underneath that clue, because the most interesting thing about your memory of yesterday is not what you still remember. It is how it feels to remember it. Now the second clue, the one in your chest. Yesterday, something got to you. Say it was a fight. Not a screaming one. Just the kind that leaves a mark. Somebody said a thing to you. Maybe your spouse. Maybe your brother. Maybe a guy at work who had no business saying it. And it landed wrong and it stuck. You drove home chewing on it. You had the whole speech ready in your head. The perfect comeback. The one you did not get to use. You were still running it at the sink while you brushed your teeth. Last night that thing was loud. It sat on your chest like something heavy. And it was the exact loop that would not shut off when you were trying to fall asleep. This morning the fight is still real. You remember who said what. And you remember exactly how wrong they were. Not one fact of it has been erased. But the heat is down. You can pick it up and turn it over and your pulse does not climb into your throat. Same story. Lower temperature. That gap, the memory staying while the sting fades, is the second clue. While you are awake, a memory and the feeling attached to it come as one package. You cannot call the moment back without also lighting up the jolt that came with it. Think about whatever is getting to you these days. The fight. The bill. The phone call you keep putting off. Every time it crosses your mind in the daylight, the whole charge fires again. Fresh. Like it just happened. Sleep appears to get in there and work on that connection. In the dream, heavy stretches closer to morning. Your brain revisits those loaded memories and reorganizes them. And it seems to hold on to the information while turning down the alarm that came wired to it. You wake up still knowing what happened. It just does not go off in your hands the same way. Picture a smoke detector against a photograph. During the day, that raw memory is a smoke detector. Walk anywhere near it and it screams. Every single time. No warning. What a good night does is not rip the thing off the wall and pretend the fire never happened. It is slower and smarter than that. It turns the screaming detector into a photograph of the fire. Now you can stand there and look right at the picture. See every flame, and no siren goes off in your ears. I want to be careful with that one, because it is a beautiful idea, and beautiful ideas run ahead of the evidence. Researchers are still sorting out how reliably this happens. For which memories, and for which people, what they are fairly confident about is that sleep is doing something with emotional memory, and that people who lose sleep handle emotional material worse the next day. The picture frame version is the best read we have right now. It is not a closed case. And there is a limit to it that matters more than the science does. Sleep does not erase your problems. It does not melt grief. It does not cure anxiety. And no 8 hours ever made a genuinely bad situation stop being bad. The fight is still a fight. The hard thing waiting for you today is still down there. Whole. Exactly where you left it. What the night hands you is not a clean slate. It is a steadier hand to pick the same ugly thing back up with. You already know this works, because you have felt it fail. Think about the morning after a short, miserable night. Somebody breathes wrong near you, and you are ready to come apart. A line that is too long. A text that took a tone, and it knocks you sideways for an hour. That is not you being weak. That is what a day looks like when the night ran out of room to do this particular job. Which brings up the question this whole thing has been walking toward. By 6 hours in, a lot of the night's work is already well underway. But underway is not the same as finished. And the jobs do not all get the same amount of time. So what was your body still busy doing at 6 in the morning that it had not gotten around to at 5? What is actually sitting in those last 2 hours? The answer changes how you should picture the entire night. Let us run this morning again. Change one thing. Say the alarm went off 2 hours earlier. Not some brutal middle of the night hour. A perfectly reasonable sounding 5:03 in the morning. 6 hours after you turned in. Millions of people live right there. Monday through Friday. And call it plenty. Maybe you are one of them. The trap is a good one, because it is built out of a feeling instead of a fact. You get up at 5:03 and you feel okay. Not great. Okay. You are moving. A shower and a cup of coffee seem to close whatever little gap is left. And by the time you are backing out of the driveway, you would tell anybody who asked that you are a bit tired, but basically fine. And that is the whole problem in one sentence. 6 hours feels like you got almost the entire thing. Like you trimmed a sliver off the tail end of the night and paid a small, forgettable price for it. That feeling is what makes 6 hours so easy to misread. Because 6 hours is not 8 hours with a quarter shaved off the end. The 2 hours you cut are not the same kind of hours as the 6 you kept. They were never doing the same work. The night does not spread its work out flat. It does not do the same thing at 11 at night that it does at 6 in the morning. It stacks the deck early on purpose. That deep, heavy sleep. The most physical part of the whole night. The part doing the most for your body and locking down those solid fact memories. Floods in near the front. Get any real sleep at all and you get a big pour of it in the first stretch. Your body runs to the important stuff first. The way you would grab the photo albums first if the house was on fire. And that is exactly why 6 hours can leave you feeling so deceptively okay when the alarm goes. A good share of the heavy physical work got a real shot at happening. Now watch what changes as the night rolls on. Cycle after cycle. Your brain hands more and more of each stretch over to the dreaming sleep. The same sleep from the last chapter. The kind that reworks yesterday's emotional load and weaves what you learned into everything you already knew. That dreaming sleep shows up all night long. From the early cycles onward. But the long, generous blocks of it are stacked toward the back end. In the last couple of hours before you would naturally wake up. You are getting it in bigger and bigger servings. So look hard at what 6 hour you actually did this morning. You kept most of that early. Deep, physical stretch. Good. You got the heavy lifting. And you cut a big share of the dreaming rich hours at the end. The ones that were about to run in their longest, richest blocks of the night. Which means 6 hour you can wake up remembering yesterday just fine. And still feeling yesterday's fight sitting on your chest like it is 9 at night. You would have the information without the calm. The photograph never got developed. The detector is still on the wall. Still armed. You would get through your day. No question. You would function. But the front of your brain would be running a little hot the whole time to pull it off. Quietly burning focus and patience on jobs a full night would have finished for free. Hours before you ever opened your eyes. That is the trap. Said as plain as I can say it. The last 2 hours of a full night are not spare change. They are not the safe part you get to skip because you already feel all right when the alarm goes. They hold a whole different kind of work. And that work had barely gotten rolling when 6 hour you shut off the alarm and stood up. A word of honesty before we go on. Because I do not want you lying in bed tonight doing math you have no business doing. These clean round numbers, 2 hours, 4, 6, 8. They are a way to see the shape of the night. They are not a train schedule. Nobody actually runs on tidy. Identical cycles you could set a watch by. The tilt is real. Deep sleep loaded early. Dreaming sleep loaded late. And that part is about as settled as sleep science gets. But exactly where the lines fall shifts from person to person and from one night to the next. So do not go setting an alarm by the minute off anything I just told you. Take the shape of it. Leave the stopwatch on the nightstand. The shape is the whole lesson anyway. A full night is not a longer copy of a short one. It is a night that gets far enough in to reach a second kind of work. The kind a short night runs out of road before it can really start. Which leaves one clue still sitting there untouched. The memory and the mood. Those were the two you could actually notice this morning. But the third one was your whole body standing up ready to go again after everything you put it through yesterday. And none of that came from dreaming. So what was happening in the hours you cannot remember and cannot feel? The part of the night that never once tapped you on the shoulder to let you know it was working. Go back to what you did to yourself yesterday. The 9 hours on concrete. The lawn in the heat. The 2 bags of mulch hauled around the side of the house. Or the other version. The car and the desk and the couch, which wears on you in its own quiet way. Small tears in the muscle. Blood pressure running high all day the way it does when you are upright and awake and dealing with people. Whatever was living on that shopping cart handle. Now riding around inside you looking for a place to start. By 9 at night you were cooked. This morning you are standing in your kitchen. Stiff. Sure. But loaded up and ready to go do it again. Nothing about that is obvious. Yesterday's damage did not evaporate because the sun came up. Somebody dealt with it. And the whole operation happened in rooms you have no windows into. Start with the pressure coming off. For most of a healthy night, your blood pressure drops well below where it runs during the day and stays down there for hours. Your heart never stops. It does not get to clock out. But the load it is pushing against eases off in a way it does not at any other point in your day. Meanwhile, the part of you that stays keyed up all day long, scanning, braced, half a step ahead of the next thing, finally stands down. That is the part that flinches before you have decided to flinch. In the deep stretches of the night, it lets go further than at any other time you are alive. You did not feel a second of that. The only version of it you ever really feel is when it does not happen. The wired, jaw clenched, cannot settle exhaustion of a bad night, where even lying in the dark, some part of you stayed on watch and would not clock out. Then the repair crew comes through. That deep sleep at the front of the night, the same stretch that was locking down Dave's name, is also when your body does a lot of its rebuilding. Hormones that drive tissue repair come out in their biggest pushes down there. The small tears in the muscle from the mulch and the mowing get worked on. And your immune system, which spent yesterday quietly meeting everything you touched, does some of its most important work while you are down. Which is a big part of why a run of terrible nights so often ends with you catching whatever is going around the office. Your brain does its own housekeeping down there too, clearing out some of what builds up over a long day of being awake. None of that announced itself either. There is no ache that means repair. No warmth, that means your immune system got its shift in. It just happens. In the dark. On a body that has finally stopped moving long enough to let it happen. And then, toward morning. The ramp. Your body keeps its own clock. Chemical signals rising and falling on a schedule that runs whether you are paying attention or not. In the last hours before you wake, some of them start climbing on purpose. Cortisol is the famous one. And it is not the villain the internet made it out to be. That morning rise is part of how a body gets itself ready to be awake. Warming the engine before the key turns. It is one reason waking up can feel less like being yanked out of a hole and more like coming up a set of stairs you were already climbing. So now put the third clue together, because this is the part people get wrong. You are ready this morning because a long list of jobs got finished overnight. Not because something poured energy back into you. There is no tank. Nobody refilled anything. Your pressure came down. Your body came off guard duty. The repairs got made. The immune work got done. And the morning ramp started on time. Every one of those is a job with a deadline. And last night, every one of them made it. That is the honest answer to the question we started with at 7:03. The evidence of a good night was never going to be some feeling you wake up glowing with. The evidence is a stack of work that is simply done. Finished quietly in the dark. Instead of sitting there half open and dragging itself into your day behind you. Which is smaller and truer than what you usually get sold. 8 hours does not make you superhuman. It will not hand you a flawless morning, a bulletproof mood, or a tank of energy that never runs dry. What it does is give several different kinds of sleep enough room to each finish a different kind of work. The deep physical repair up front. The memory and the emotional sorting later on. The maintenance humming under all of it. So that when the day starts, fewer of those jobs are still open and riding on your back. Now, if you are not getting there, that is worth saying out loud. If you spend a full 8 hours in bed and still wake up wrecked. If your nights keep getting blown apart by snoring, by gasping, by pain that will not let you settle. If you lie there hour after hour and sleep just will not come. That is not a character flaw. And it is not something you fix by gritting your teeth and doing more of the same. That is worth a real conversation with a doctor. Because something may be quietly eating the night out from under you before your body ever gets its chance to use it. But on a good night, a real, whole, unbroken one. The clock on your nightstand measured one thing: how long you were lying there. Your body measured something else entirely: how much of the work it actually got to finish. And this morning, at 7:03, that small, ordinary distance between those two numbers, the little bit of fog, the slow legs, the couple of minutes it takes to become yourself again, is the only part of any of it you were ever going to feel